Western Cape Community Safety MEC Albert Fritz has accused Police Minister Bheki Cele of losing focus in the fight against crime. A row between the minister and the Western Cape provincial government is brewing over beaches along the Garden route. While beaches were closed for the holiday season, Cele said SANDF soldiers would be brought in to patrol them to keep people away. But the Western Cape has accused the minister of embarking on an unnecessary power trip.
Alert the minister to his priorities. And the one problem we have at the moment is that the minister's obsessed with beaches and with people on beaches. In the meantime, crime in our townships and crime in gang areas on the Cape Flats is really again getting out of hand. And I get WhatsApp messages early in the morning to alert me to please get the police to come and respond to shootings in poor areas. He's obsessed with beaches, with running on beaches and marching on beaches and parading on beaches. Let us get our priorities straight, and that's our point.
Well, we're joined now by the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele. Minister Cele, good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Certainly, there seems to be a lot of anger that you have caused, especially when it comes to the officials in the Western Cape around the patrol of the beaches. The officials there, as you've just heard in that bite, accusing you of being on a power trip, Minister. Is that what this is?
Well, to start with, good evening, Cathy, and the listeners and the viewers. I don't know what is a power trip. I would really love to undertake that thing, to know what's a power trip and be part of it. But the crux of the matter, you'll remember that the beaches were closed before they were closed in Western Cape. As such, I wrote the letter to the Premier, and I said, Premier, I'll be undertaking the trip to come and observe the beaches before they were closed. If you can just give me your team from both the province and the municipality. Unfortunately, Advocate Fritz, the MEC, was sick, was in hospital. I passed my regards to him together with the wife. He could not be part of that. So if you have a power trip, you could not report to the Premier and request that the MEC comes, the city comes, to be able to work with them on that one. On the second one, when they were banned, I tried to get to Premier to say, Premier, your Western Cape people continue to undermine the authority of the state, and they must stay out of the beaches. So they couldn't. So I had to go there. We had to remove police from point A to point B, especially in the Western Coast, in the West Coast, and in the Garden route, to go and help the police there. And let me say, one other problem, especially in the Garden route, the law enforcement that falls under municipality and the province will literally refuse to work with the police to enforce the law. Remember, this is regulation. Once it's a law, police need to enforce the thing. If they had just voluntarily did what they're supposed to do, we're not supposed to send the police there. We're not supposed to be there ourselves. On the soldiers, let me explain that. We have requested the soldiers for two things. For help the police, especially in the Garden route, we've got about 310 police that are that have been infected there, and about 800 of them are on the isolation. So we're very down. So hence we're requesting an extra enforcement. They haven't arrived. They're supposed to arrive today, but we have sent more soldiers in Western Cape to fight crime, not in the beaches, to be in the areas which are crime infested. So it's not correct that soldiers are dealing with the beaches only, are also there to deal with the crime situation.
Of course, the picture, Minister, of having SANDF soldiers patrolling any scenes, any streets in the country is one that should concern all of us. And it should really be one of those things that is a move of last resort. It was questioned under even the strictest of lockdowns if it was appropriate for the country to be deploying soldiers. Why would it be necessary under level 3 of the lockdown regulations?
I wish that question would not have been asked from me, because people need to volunteer and just to respect the law and don't go where they're not supposed to go on the beaches, especially the beaches in Garden Route, where people took the decision to say they're going to defy the law. The law needs to be respected, and the job of the South African Police Service is to enforce the law. But in Western Cape, it's interesting that the MEC did not talk about the crime prevention as it is happening in Khayelitsha, Delft, where we have soldiers. And you must remember, we haven't withdrawn those soldiers all the time since we requested that we request them to come and help the police in terms of the crime fighting. So they only highlight the question of the beach. Let me say, they have not even arrived on the beach. We have put our own resources. We have removed the POP, public order policing, to go and enforce the law of the people that are deliberately breaking the law, surfing, knowing very well that they're not supposed to do that. The issue here and the question here, it looks like it's correct when you go to Khayelitsha, when you go to Delft to deal with the crime situation. But stay away from where people that are opulent, where they're doing their things. Stay away, don't go to the beach. Allow them to break the law. Allow them to disrespect the regulation. Please don't touch them. That looks like it's a posture that you are getting from Western Cape. And we're not going to do that. We're going to enforce the law. It doesn't matter where the law is supposed to be enforced. So long we do the correct thing according to the book, we continue to do it.
Minister, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, and there seems to be a conflation of issues here. When you talk about the deployment of the SANDF areas, especially to those parts of the Western Cape that have been ravaged by drug lords, etc., that was done under a separate piece of legislation, at least as far as my understanding goes. And the deployment surely of the SANDF to come and implement lockdown level restrictions is different to what you're referencing. Is that not the case?
No, let me remind you, Cathy. The soldiers, SANDF, were requested by the police and were deployed long before the COVID-19 in Western Cape.
Yes.
They were deployed, yes. That has not been withdrawn. That was extended when the president allowed the soldiers to work around the country, which then we have again requested them to come and help the police only when it comes to the beach, where people were not respecting the law, which is your guiding court, which is your guiding route.
Do you not see it as an indictment on your department and your ability to be able to ensure that you have officers who are able to do the basic job of law enforcement, as you've put it, rather than calling on the defense force? Their job is not to enforce, is not for law enforcement.
Which one, the beach or the or the crime prevention?
Of the beaches.
Okay, I've explained to you. The beaches, I was there yesterday, both west and south. Those beaches are cleared by the members of the South African Police. Even now, the members of the South African National Defence Force have not arrived. We have sent our own forces, the POP, in both West Coast and the South Coast. That has been done. I heard the MEC saying that I said people are complying. It is correct, but that compliance was enforced, did not come voluntarily, and it happened before the soldiers come. Even now, they have not come. So the police have done their job there.
So then are you going to cancel the deployment of soldiers to come and assist police to work on the beaches?
Well, the soldiers are requested, are not deployed by the Minister of Police, are requested to the Minister. If the Minister of Defense has allowed the soldiers to come and there is a need for them to come, yes. If there is no need to come, yes. But even in where they're supposed to come at George, they did not only come for beaches, they came for both the beach issue and the crime prevention. They will still come because there are areas. For instance, we had one cash heist there. We do have a problem of the house breakings there. can still come there and do the crime prevention without going to the beach. To be honest with you, already the beaches have been sorted out. There is no reason for the soldiers going to the beach anymore.
So are you going to cancel the deployment of those that were going to be sent out to the Western Cape? This is when it comes to the enforcing the regulations of COVID-19 under the current framework?
There is no need for them to go to the beach. Anyway, there is no part in the beach, it's clear, but they were going for both. They'll also do the crime prevention in Western Cape, including the Garden Route. They'll continue to do that as a crime prevention, not on the beach, Cathy.
Who requested the soldiers, Minister?
It's always, the soldiers are requested at many levels, but to follow the process, it's a Minister of Police that requested from the Minister of Defense, and the Minister of Defense will request them from the President. But this time, the soldiers have not been told, have not been instructed to go back to their bases. So it was easy between the Minister of Police and Minister of Defense without going to the President. But if there is no emergency, if there is no the regulations and all that, there are processes that we are following.
But Minister, does that sound like something that should be happening? That you, as the Minister of Police, deploy South African members of the South African National Defence Force, and you don't even have the President's approval to do it? Or did you at least consult him? Did you tell him about this? Does he know that it's going to happen or that it is happening?
Cathy, can I take you through school on this one?
Go for it, Minister.
There is no Minister of Police that will ever deploy the soldiers, not once. There is no Minister of Defense that will deploy the soldiers. They are deployed by the President. What happens? The Minister of Police, under normal circumstances, make a request to the Minister of Defense. The Minister of Defense makes the request to the President. But we're saying this time, under the regulations, we're still under the regulations where the soldiers were released by the President have been taken back. So there is no need to follow all those protocols except speaking to the Minister of Defense, because Minister of Police cannot deploy the soldiers. That's what happened. That I spoke to the Minister of Defense on this one.
Who do you account to about these decisions, and who have you been consulting with about making these decisions? So when you decide that you need more soldiers in the Western Cape, who are the people who are in the room that you are consulting with about this decision?
Firstly, I'll speak to the Minister of Police, but the real decision of sending the soldiers is taken at the net joints. Net joints is where the commanders of the police and the commanders of the soldiers and the all intelligence world, they come together, and that practical decision is taken there after the request has been made. But the minister doesn't take the decision to say, you send the soldiers there. The net joints, which are the commanders, both soldiers and the police, they sit down, they work the logistics, and indeed, the men and women in the boots, they are sent there.
So Minister, I just want to know from you, when it comes to the officials, you say you spoke to the Premier in the Western Cape. Did you mention the issue of deploying the SANDF? Was there some kind of consensus between the two of you that this was a necessary action, that this in fact was meeting a need that existed in that province?
No, the Premier, I spoke to the Premier before the beaches were closed there, was not even sending the extra police because the beaches were not closed. Is then I spoke to the Premier. Actually, I wrote the letter saying, I'm coming to observe the beaches there. Please give me the province. Please give me the people from the local governments so that we can go together and all that. When the beaches were closed, then people continued to defy. So I tried to get Premier. I couldn't get Premier. But at the end of the day, policing is a national competence. There's nothing wrong on the KTC, speaking to the MEC, speaking to the Premier, but it's a national competence that the Minister of Police will have to go there to make sure that the law is enforced and the law is respected. Is exactly what we have done with the management of the police, both in the province and national.
Are you going to be doing this anywhere else in the country?
That's another problem, Cathy. That's another problem. That this focus, it comes when it comes to Western Cape. I started in PE. I went to the beach in PE. I went to all townships in PE. I went to Durban long before I went to Cape Town. I went to all townships. I went to Claremont. I went to Gamacho, and nobody's picking that up. It's just supposed to be Western Cape beaches, and then the noise comes.
Sorry, Minister.
I've been moving.
Have you deployed SANDF members in those areas as well?
There was no need because they listened. When they said, don't go to the beach, I went there and beaches were empty. In Western Cape, they did not listen. They went there after the president had spoken and they filmed the beach, including the day I was there. Hence, we had to arrest some of them, and some of them, the foreign nationals coming from their countries in Europe to come and swim here. Their beaches are closed, they come to swim here. So there was no need even to send extra police in PE, in Durban, because people respected. Western Cape will have to know they are part of South Africa and they must respect. Otherwise, the law will have to be enforced. It doesn't matter where.
Police Minister Bheki Cele, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We'll have to leave it there for tonight. Thank you for your time on News at Prime.